I'm here in another interview on our digital work disruption interview series together with Celine Schillinger. Hello, Celine.
Hi there.
Maybe you introduce yourself first at the beginning.
Sure, with pleasure. So I'm currently based in France. I have been an entrepreneur for a year and a half already after going through a long journey in the corporate world. I have worked about 10 years in small to medium-sized organizations, mostly in Asia, and then 17 years in the pharma industry in mostly business operations roles, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of project, portfolio management, that kind of things. And over the last 10 years at Sanofi, I developed an interest and then different roles around stakeholder engagement, community building. How do you build communities? How do you put people in motion, in movement, in action around a shared goal that is in service of the organization, in service of its business or its quality improvement or whatever. How do you mobilize people through new ways of working, leveraging digital tools, leveraging the power of purpose, all that kind of things. I did this kind of work over France, I mean, in a global setting, but I was located in the US for the last 4 years of my stay at Sanofi. And then I moved back to Europe. I'm now based in France. I launched my own consulting service about 18 months ago, called We Need Social. And I am helping organizations do better, achieve better through engagement leadership. So engagement leadership is a sort of a summary of what I just described. It's about engaging people, not in the sense of making them happy, but really putting them into an active, in action, putting them in an active stance together because they want to. So creating a sort of sense of collective energy focused around a certain goal. All right. So that's what I do. I help mid to large size companies all in Europe, basically. And I've been extremely happy to do so in this new setting.
We got to know also in the context of our Enterprise 2.0 Summit in Paris, and all the discussions about Enterprise 2.0 and the new ways of collaboration. So how or which core idea from the Enterprise 2.0 discussions led you to this engagement leadership topic?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story for me, and I remember very, very fondly the first Enterprise 2.0 conference I went to. I think it was 2013, and it really opened up a brand new world for me at that time, because my interest started with diversity. I felt constrained, too constrained in the culture of the organization I was into at that time. I felt the organization was too narrowly considering its talents, its pool of resources, its ways of communication with the world, with clients, and I felt there was a lot to gain from a broader, a more open kind of culture. But how to do that? And it really started by chance. I wrote a letter to the CEO. It became viral. We created a movement, and I found out a tool that was perfect for us. That was Yammer. And from then on, I discovered the world of social networks internally, externally, started to learn and explore and discover new ideas and thought leaders. And then I realized that all those thought leaders, or some of the most interesting people I was following at that time, were actually gathering in Paris at a conference. And I decided to go. Actually reach out to Cécile Dijoux, and he said, "Oh, that's the conference you should go." And I said, "Oh, okay, I'm booking my tickets right now." And I've had a blast because those people made me see and understand that there was more than diversity. There was a complete cultural shift in the way organizations could be run, in the way we could work together and make work better, more fulfilling, more engaging, and more productive, more, I mean, delivering more value. I felt companies were wasting a lot of their potential, a lot of their human potential. And to me, it's a crime. You can't waste people, right? But you have to, in order to leverage the full potential here, you need to have it work in a more clever way. There are clever ways enabled by technology, not just technology, but technology is an entry point that triggers the need for new relationships, new relations to power, new mindset, and that's what has really triggered my interest into changing leadership, approach to leadership that is not unidirectional from those who know to those who don't know, which is the traditional, mindset or cultural norm. I believe knowledge is everywhere, and knowledge should be leveraged, connected, because there's this rich pool of ideas and a creativity that is here if we take a connective approach to knowledge and collective desire to do good, right? If we take a top-down or unidirectional approach to knowledge, we just shrink the potential instead of expanding it. So yeah, it has inspired me a lot of ideas and lots of willingness to learn and expand my boundaries and learn about tools, about theories, about methods, about and also want to get to know people and collaborate with, for example, experts in living systems, organizations as living systems, which is a fascinating branch of knowledge that has brought me a lot. But yeah, to wrap up with my answer, which is already too long, what I find fascinating is working with people on solving real problems and doing it in a way that enables every voice to have an impact, you see. And for this, I find digital absolutely marvelous. Because it's a possibility, it offers possibility of a democratization and engagement that the old world does not permit.
So since then, we had a long journey of trying to push the organization as a living system, as you said, into this new in this new mode of working. But now with the crisis going on, we've been disrupted, and we now need a different mode of working in a digital remote way. So this is all about what we want to discuss in this digital work disruption initiative. And well, my question would be first, so what are your recommendations on the individual level? So what should each of us change to really effectively do our work remotely and digitally?
First of all, I think this disruption is indeed it's a huge crisis for the world. It's affecting tons of small businesses, people losing their jobs. It's putting families together in sometimes small spaces for a long period of time. It's very difficult. It's very tough. I'm not even talking about those who lose a loved one to the virus. I mean, it's very stressful. It's a complete shock to the world. So my first reaction would be to say, let's not rejoice. Let's not say, hey, we've been right, you know. And you see, I told you you should have gone digital. I mean, this is not the time to say or think such a thing. I think there's a time for grief that we're all going through now, and that we need to respect. And as consultants, we go through exactly the same journey as our clients. We are disrupted too, extremely. Even if we maybe we knew the tools a little bit better, we had already thought about remote distributed teams, etc. We had some background knowledge that can help, definitely, but we are not in a position yet to thrive. No one is thriving in this situation, I feel, and we need to respect that. We need to stick together. So on an individual basis, I would say, let's stick together. Let's be non-judgmental. If some people are jumping, with services, with providing offers to the market, taking it as a commercial opportunity, good for them. And I have absolutely no judgment. If some people are more like staying quiet and stressing out, I totally understand that. So that's my first, and together with that, I would say, let's try to be gentle with ourselves, right? Let's not, we cannot be overly ambitious in those days. We need to learn to live 24 hours with our families, first of all, with our kids in the same space, etc. We need to learn a new routine, physical distancing, being away from our aging parents. It's hard, and there's this whole emotional, influx that we need to absorb and respect. And it's okay if you're not as productive as before, right? Let's relax. I would say that's my first advice to everybody, and to myself as well. So I'm taking care of myself with hot tea, and I'm eating chocolate, and it's fine, That's my first thing. I'm feeling very, very lucky that I'm in a nice space. I have my lovely office space at home. It's not the case for everybody. Some people have to work in shared space, and it's not easy. As much as you can care for yourself and make yourself a little bit happy with music or with whatever, do it. That's my first thing. And then being effective, I don't know. Some days I feel I'm being very effective, and other days I feel like shit. So I don't have a recipe that works 100% for me. Not talking about others. I'm trying to diversify my days, so because the news is stressful, and I find it hard to focus long periods of times on the same topic. So I try to divide my days into and put have calls with people at least once a day, so I can exchange thoughts, I can connect, I can see other faces. So I try to do that. I try to have a mix of activities, try to learn, so that at the end of the day, even if I haven't achieved much, at least I have the satisfaction of having completed a lesson, or having learned something, and having dedicated part of my brain to something else than the stressful news about the virus. I also try to speak with people who are active and positive, and who see opportunities, etc., because that provides me with energy, and I'm sharing my energy with others. yeah, that's about it. And trying to have a good Wi-Fi connection, good lighting.
And,
That's important.
and in regards to team collaboration, what are your recommendations that teams should consider now to work more effectively?
In relation to teams, I think it's even more important now than it was before to take care of others, to pay attention to who they are, what they are going through, in which conditions do they work, do they have a loved one that has affected or not? Is it what is their mood? Because they're coming to a meeting with all of that. You cannot just split yourself in two, the personal and the professional. You come loaded with. So I think it's even more important now to speak from a position of compassion, as Eugenio Molini would say. A real human-to-human conversation. So, for example, being very transactional has always been, to me, a little bit disturbing. Not disturbing, but it was the rule of the game. But I think it doesn't work. It works even less now. You need to, if you just reach out to people because you need something from them, in this period of stress and crisis, you won't get much. If you come and offer your help, your ears, your time, your attention, if you give contacts, whatever they need, even if you're not sure, just give. If you establish this human-to-human connection, then digital work works much better for a team, right? So I would say if managers try to switch to the new reality as if it was just a digitization of the old one, I think it won't work. They will not build enough, or they will lose the trust they have built over time because of stress, because of everything else that's playing in people's lives. They will not build this loyalty that can be built in times of crisis. When people feel and see and realize that they stick together, that creates long-time loyalty that will be useful over time, because the crisis will not go away in a few weeks. I think we'll have a bumpy road to recovery. It will be long and bumpy. So we need right now to adopt new ways of working, new ways of collaboration that go much beyond the tools. It is not just a matter of switching meetings to video conferences. It is a matter of relating to people differently. You see, that would be my first advice, and paying attention. Another topic I think is important is to pay attention to what the team learns. What is it learning right now, these days? And how do we capture that? How do we keep a memory of that? Because it would be too bad to learn, to discover new ways, and then to forget. Once the crisis is over, if it gets completely over someday, people will move, leave, etc. It would be too bad to lose this organizational memory about what happened, how people reacted, what ingenuity, what creativity, what new connections, what new ideas came out of that. Yeah.
Are there any organizational principles you would suggest that we should focus on at the moment, or foster maybe?
I think one of the principles that has guided my work for a long time is real change happens in real work. And another one that is tied to that is people who do the work do the change. We used to have change departments or change teams, or change, transformation offices, that kind of things, which often were tainted by the understanding that their real work was to downsize, to get rid of people. But anyway, this is where you would have change management experts, specialists, those kind of people holding the methodologies for change. And I think this has become, because of the crisis, completely obsolete. Change is now happening in every team, in every individual even. So how do we enable that? How do we, enable is the word. How does an organization make it less painful as possible for people to evolve in this new reality, to work, to collaborate, to deliver, to provide value? Is it by keeping people connected? Is it by maintaining people's salary as much as possible? Is it, so it's not just tools, right? So it's also like enabling people to make a living through these hard times, but it's also respecting people, inviting people to speak up, to share their experiences, and so on. Connecting with clients as well, really, really important, so that the organization doesn't shrink in its bubble, but on the contrary, finds ways to open up and connect and learn from what their clients are going through in these times also.
So you talked about those transformation offices. They should be in the lead for the enablement at the moment, shouldn't they?
I think it's the role of every manager. In fact, it's not the role of a department. Like an innovation department shouldn't be the sole place for innovation in an organization, or something I was familiar with very much lately was the quality. A quality department shouldn't be the only place where quality is being run. There should be a quality mindset across the entire organization. In each and every individual, there should be a quality mindset. There should be an interest for new things, for a curiosity mindset at each and every step of the organization. Even in this crisis, how people are managing everyday needs, shopping, reading. I see lots and lots of transformation concerts being run online, for example, with instruments being played from each and every musician's home. I mean, this kind of things, which was not really, probably it was made before, it was done before by a few folks, but it's now almost, I wouldn't say the new normal, but we're surprised the first time we see that, and then yeah, it's part of our new reality. Yeah, we'll see a concert made by 24 musicians in 24 different locations, right? That's wonderful. That's amazing. Even the kids, I mean, I see my kids going through their schoolwork in a very, very different way than what was done before, discovering new tools, but also new ways. Like my 10-year-old daughter is online, is in a video call during the whole day with her best friend, and they run through the schoolwork together. I'm not sure the teacher had designed the exercises this way, but it's fantastic. They keep engaged, they motivate each other, they don't feel lonely. It's like, yeah, why not? New way? Great.
What are are there any issues you see that teams, organizations should really solve now to get this running?
Yeah, I think the first issue they have to, and they are focused on these days, and which is totally normal, is survival. Like everybody is focused on this, right? How will I make ends meet, and how can I ensure I still run a business next month, and everybody is focused on that. And that's totally normal. On top of that, there's a question of maintaining I wouldn't say normal, but maintaining a productive work relationship with people in the team or in the organization. And for that, there's a number of tools that have appeared in people's lives. And this number can feel overwhelming. The constant flow or thread of messages, of information, it can be daunting, especially if you have like your kids running in the background, your dog barking, your a meal to prepare. I mean, it's like, so I would be very focused, as if I were in charge of some people right now, of a team or an organization. I would be very cautious on not bringing too many tools to people right away or without guidance. I would help provide some light, short forms of support, maybe a la carte, maybe, you know, things that people could get without having to ask for permission 3 levels up. I would relax some of the rules, maybe if needed, on that front. I would focus my energy on what's really vital, and innovation is part of these efforts that are really vital. I would definitely not cut the efforts on that front, because it's through innovation that we will be able to overcome the major difficulties created by this virus.
But if you say innovation is something that can help you, on the other hand, maybe your team members come up with new innovations in tools and routines, etc. This is something that you have to leverage it.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, and again, I feel the collective, and the collective is the key. A healthy collective where ideas circulate, where flows of information are normal and are going into every direction, or those companies, to make it very clear, those companies that have leveraged their enterprise social network, that have made a deliberate and strategic use of the social network, are in a much better place now than those who haven't. Those who have not invested time, energy, training, mentoring, etc., coaching into social communication and social collaboration are, you see, those who have stuck to internal comms in the sense of unilateral directional communication and information are having a very difficult time, and I totally understand that. It's not that it cannot be overcome now. It's more difficult. It's more painful. There will be a lot of value lost on the way, and a lot of energy lost. But it's a good lesson. We can start anytime, and starting in times of crisis when people feel the need to stick together is not a bad idea. So having the possibility as a collective to make sense, to reflect, even I mean, it doesn't take a 3-hour long meeting every day, but having snippets of sense making opportunities for the collective. What do we see? What innovations have we seen or have we done? Is it a sustainable solution? Do we keep it? Do we make it part of the new normal, etc., etc.? Do we share it with other teams? How do we do that? Who shares? I think this is what enables the organization to learn through this crisis. You see, and to keep a strong openness to innovation.
When it comes again to the enablement, do you have any recommendations on small routines that you suggest individuals and teams to better get along on their journey to the remote digital work?
I don't know. I think it depends on everybody, of course. My routine is to Google, to learn, to experiment as much as I can. I mean, I don't try new tools every day, but pretty often, yes. And I download, I check, I Google if I'm not sure, etc. So I try to. It's not about staying current for my job, etc. Although it's important, but it's really trying to find new sources of ideas. How have those app developers? What's the system what do other people think is clever and why? And maybe my own creativity is triggered by this or that or that. And so really, the tools, I always think the tools are not enough, but the tools are an important basis for creativity, because it may make you think of new usage. So again, limiting the overload, the tools overload, but making sure that you don't stick to a single routine. For example, you may be very comfortable with Microsoft 365, but then there's many other things in addition that can be great too. And if it's not tools, maybe it's just ways to connect people so that they together issue something, some new ideas, a new product, a new service, whatever. We need that more than ever now. So staying current, keeping an open mind, trying to, I check Twitter not too often because I don't want to be depressed, but still there are some thought leaders or some experts whose voice I think is really interesting. So for them, I put a little alert so that a little notification so that I don't miss their tweets, because they feed me. They feed me with new ideas. I try to. This is my routine, my personal routine, and of course spending good quality time with the family, so that, and eating well, so that emotionally, things go well, things are okay, and if your emotions are well taken care of, your sense of curiosity remains open. You have a sense of fulfillment from achieving little tasks or learning new stuff. Things can go not so bad.
Great. Thank you very much for these answers and recommendations. Thank you for taking part.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to speak with you, as always.